City of Stevens Point Public Policy and General Government Meeting, recorded October 11, 2021.
Clerk Enter, would you please call the roll? Oh wait, I have to call to order.
Yep.
Public Policy and Government is called to order. Clerk Enter, please call the roll.
Leek.
Here.
Christensen.
Here.
Kiemer.
Here.
Kneebone.
Here.
Fischler's excused.
Okay. So the first item of business, since we recently Alder Jennings, former Alder Jennings resigned, we need to elect a vice chair. She was serving as vice chair of this committee. So I would like to open the floor to nominations for the vice chair of this committee, Public Policy and General Government. Do I have any nominations?
Chair Leek.
Yes? Alder Kneebone?
Since he brings such a wealth of experience with city government, I'd like to nominate Alder Christensen. I think he would fit in quite nicely as our vice chair.
Okay, that's one nomination for Alder Christensen of District 1. Any further nominations? Third time, any further nominations? Hearing none. Wait, did you say we have to vote on this?
You can accept a motion.
we accept a
close
motion.
nominations,
Right.
and cast a unanimous ballot for Mark Christensen for vice chair.
Okay. So I accept a motion to nominate, to close nominations.
I'll move to close nominations.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to close nominations. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Okay.
I need a motion to accept, or cast a unanimous ballot for
Christensen.
Right.
Mark Christensen.
Right, we
Vice
need
chair.
a motion to cast a unanimous ballot for Alder Christensen for vice chair of Public Policy and General Government.
So moved. Alder Kneebone moves.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Congratulations, Vice Chair Christensen. Okay, we have a license list up next, item 3. Well, it's not much of a list, actually. There is the change of agent to Quick Trip from on 1626 Oak Street in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Let's see, yes, that's right. The original was Cassandra S. Paper, which I think was pretty recent, actually. I remember seeing this before. And replaced by Jennifer C. Sawicki.
Sawicki, yep.
So I need a motion to accept the license list, and namely about Quick Trip.
So moved.
Alder Kiemer, I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Ask for discussion next.
Oh, yeah, that's right, a discussion, right, I forgot about that one.
Okay.
Any discussion on Quick Trip? Wish they'd bring back the pretzels. Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
You did that already.
Okay,
Did that,
right.
yeah.
Abstentions?
Good.
Okay, great, motion passes. Okay. Item 4 is a request to hold events and street closings. We have the annual Frostbite Run Walk on December 4th. Item B, 2021 Stevens Point Community Turkey Trot. Item C, Holiday Parade on November 17th, 2021. And D, the Healthy Downtown Halloween Hoedown. I believe the first 3 are recurring events, and the 4th is new. So I think we'd want to take D separately since it's new, right?
I don't think you need to do that, because we've had the Halloween hoedown before. Just the circumstances have changed.
Oh, okay.
And barring any objections, you can take them all at once.
Okay, well, let's take them all at once then. I need a motion to accept the request to hold events and street closings.
Alder Keemer, I'll make a motion to approve the events and street closings.
Second?
Alder Christensen.
Okay, all those in, discussion. Discussion on the event and street closing.
Any concerns from police?
No concerns.
Okay.
Anything from the public? Any last thoughts from committee? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes. And finally, we have an ordinance amendment on special event applications. And in this case, we might have to accept some commentary from City Attorney Beveridge.
Yeah, so like I said in the memo, this has been in the works for a very, very long time. And, obviously we've, over the whole history of the city, had special events and events of this type. We just didn't have anything that was standardized in terms of the way that we would handle the approvals for those types of things. So certain, small things, just, private events where somebody's renting a, park facility, obviously that would just, run through the Parks Department. But a lot of things would end up, coming to this body and going to the council and essentially being evaluated through not really much of a lens at all. Just, what does everyone think about it? And, slap some conditions on something somewhat haphazardly based on either prior experience or just, intuition or whatever. So the idea here is to have, a rubric for evaluating what is the nature of an event, what level of sort of control and management does it need, what level of city services are going to be required to support it and make sure that it's safe and orderly, and then have certain events that can just be approved at the staff level subject to standardized conditions and all that, and then the bigger ones can still come to this body for some individual attention. Like I mentioned in the memo, there's obviously some moving parts in here. What different categories of events do we want to establish? What thresholds for sort of higher levels of scrutiny, so to speak, do we want to use? And that's all up to you. We did our best at putting some standards in there that are based more or less on what ordinances we've seen from other cities. In fact, when I first started working on a draft of this years ago, I had looked at the one from Green Bay and used that as a good amount of the content in it. And then since then, Green Bay actually completely revised theirs. I believe they did that early last year. So we were able to use their newer one to see what they had changed and tinkered with. So the expectation here is to just sort of get you thinking about it, get you talking about it, take some commentary from the public. The hope is that we could have this in place and ready to use starting January 1 of next year.
Thank you very much. I guess we will open the floor to any discussion or questions first from the committee. Yes, Alder Keemer?
Yeah, I guess I just want to say I appreciate any attempt to sort of streamline or make this process more consistent. I don't remember if I saw, is there a fee structure set up in this proposal? And if so, is that change on the size of events or one fee for all? And I guess would that change from what is in place now?
Sure. So there's no fee structure in the text of the ordinance. The expectation would be that we would also have an application form, and that in terms of the nuts and bolts of how this actually functions, that application form would be doing a lot of the work in terms of here's the information we need, here's the way that a completed application makes its way to other departments for their input when it's needed, but also that we would establish fees based upon what the city's actual costs or, administrative overhead happens to be for different size events, and that those costs would be brought forward at a later date as part of the city's fee schedule and approved via resolution. So in theory, yes, fees for some things, probably not for others, smaller events, but that would be at a later date to be brought forward.
Okay, but perhaps like a flat application fee for everyone, or just fees for additional level of city or staff time?
I think, I just off the top of my head, what I think might make sense would be that for the smallest events up to a certain threshold, you could have a pretty modest processing fee that would be flat across the board. And then once you hit a threshold of a certain pretty decent size, then maybe the application fee goes up because there's just a little bit more staff time spent on getting together, discussing logistics, meeting with the applicants to establish where the boundaries are, geographically, and what city services are needed. And then, yes, in addition to that, there could be a cost for actual city services. For instance, we had, homecoming this past weekend, and for many, many years, we've been requiring partners as part of their premises extension to have a couple contractual officers there, and then we just charge them what the city's actual overtime rate is for that. So those types of things have been present in the past, and having that become part of the application materials to just inform people, if it is required for you to have these additional services, here's what the cost will be, so that they see that right at the application stage.
Good. Thank you.
Any other discussion or commentary from the committee?
Sometimes I know organizations are hesitant to put fee schedules into policy because it's more difficult to change policies, and so they approve fee schedules on an annual basis and outside of the policy, because then it's a less complicated procedure too. So, I don't know if that's the case in the city or not, but that's something to consider as well.
Yeah, I think that speaks to the reason why you wouldn't want to put it into the ordinance.
Policy.
Whereas, in terms of an ordinance that creates some sort of rule that you could be penalized, cited for violating, then you would establish a penalty as a matter of law, so to speak.
Right.
Whereas here, we wouldn't want to do that.
Okay, any commentary or questions from the public?
Chair, Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes, Alder Nebone.
Maybe the city attorney would clarify something for me. I think this is a really good start, really good idea. In section 2E, small III, it says marches, public assemblies, and other events held primarily for the purpose of conducting activities protected by the First Amendment to the United States Constitution are not special events. Would they still not be required to get some sort of permit? Because the reality in our partisan climate today is that I think I would want some police protection if someone was going to exercise their First Amendment rights, and everyone has an opportunity to do that regardless of who they're speaking for. But and I don't even mind if they don't have to pay anything because it's a constitutional right, but would we not want the police to be, or just public safety people to be notified in the event of some kind of a public rally around a constitutional right?
So what you're raising there is an often discussed and fairly nuanced issue, as you probably expect. My take on that is, it is somewhat infrequent that we have those types of events, and what you want to do when they arise is not have a situation where your ordinance says you have to do this a certain way in terms of procedure for permitting, in terms of fees or requirements, and then you're confronted with, somebody wants to have a certain type of, free speech type event, and you go, oh no, we've got a problem where the ordinance says we have to do X, but the constitutional law provisions say we have to do the opposite of that. you paint yourself into a corner. So when I said that a big purpose of this ordinance was to create some standardization so that we don't have to kind of recreate the wheel every time, when you have those types of events, that's where it actually is very appropriate to take them on an extremely case-by-case basis and make sure that you have everything done just so in order to make sure that people's rights are respected. So I absolutely agree with you that sometimes those type of events do need some level of police services or even street closures or something of that like. But I prefer that we address them, like I said, on a case-by-case basis.
And also to address that a little further, and that's come up in the past, whether it was a special event, that may be a situation that would require a contractual officer. An event like this, that may not be a special event. But as you said, Mary, you may want police presence. That'd be something that'd be covered out of the operational budget as an overtime issue.
One question is that there might be, say, mixed events where it's of a political nature, but one is also selling hot dogs, or, well, hopefully not liquor, but maybe. Would a march or public assembly be then subject in some way to this ordinance if some sort of commercial activity is involved?
Yes, that's hitting on one of the exact topics that myself and Chief Zenner had to discuss earlier this year with regards to an event we had here in town where there was a thought that we might need to have some police presence in case people antagonistic to the event showed up and caused problems. And basically what the case law says there is you cannot charge an event organizer or the people who are holding an event for a police presence on that basis. Mm-hmm. But if the event also is serving alcohol and has food or this or that, you can charge your normal fees based solely upon that, but you can't add any fees on the basis that you expect there might be some sort of disturbance.
Understood. Okay, thank you. Any further commentary or questions from the public? Hearing none. Thank you very much, Attorney Beveridge.
Certainly, and I would strongly encourage any members of the council, if they want to discuss this individually with me, to call me, and encourage members of the public to provide feedback on this. It's one of those things where as much input as we can get from people, the more the better on something like this.
Okay. Thank you. So I believe that was a discussion item. So we are then to item 6, adjournment.
6:36.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.